Okay, you're back. We have watered the background and we're going to start dropping in some of our awesome fall colors. So this is going to be super loose. It's just going to allow these colors to sort of spread and mix and do their thing. So I have a peachy color. This is a Naples yellow in Daniel Smith, but you can mix this by doing a little orange with a bunch of yellow. You can make it's like a peachy skin tone. Red, yellow, orange can make this. I'm going to do some of my lighter background colors on the right side and just a little bit of darker on the left, just to create a little interest. Um, and then I have a little bit of green too up off the screen here. I have a little bit of greenish. I'm going to mix some yellow ochre and green, a little foresty green, and then a little more of a lemon green. And I'm just dropping it in around areas where it's sort of hinting at that there was some greenery. It is fall, but there's still some green around on the trees back here, is what I'm hinting in there. And we are, because when you wet the background, you're avoiding your subject, you can just go ahead and drop this paint in between and it won't rub into your squirrel because you wanted to wet around it. And same with the leaves over here. So those areas are going to remain clean and clear right now. So this color is a raw umber that I really like and a burnt sienna kind of combination. It's like a reddish brown. And I'm going just dropping that in some of the places between where I'm going to have my leaves. I'll do the leaves in a lighter yellow and just some of this reddish peachish. So I'm not rubbing too much on top of the areas. I'm just getting it around and giving a hint of where everything is. And I'm adding a little bit of a purpley brown in the back to simulate some tree trunks that are off in the back. And just building in, it's just going to blend out back there. And we're going to have a nice difference between the lack of details in the back and the more detailed log in the front. That'll really give it some depth. Here, I'm just tapping in some of this, just strengthening the little purplish brown in the bottom left. And you see, I'm not going over areas. We want to leave the areas that we've already kind of created and let them do their thing and not scrub on top. While we have this brownish purplish, let's go ahead and do our log that's in the foreground and leave a strip of white between the log and the forest behind it, just to leave a little interest. A watercolor, the one of the best things you can do is leave a couple areas of white where it makes sense, just to define some areas. So let's do that. And I'm mixing up I have a French ultramarine, but I'm getting it a little darker blue and purple. So kind of a blue purple together. It's like an ultramarine blue with a little purple. And I'm going to use this, add a little bit of brown as well. I'm going to use this for some of the darkest shadow areas on the right side. And then with a little bit more liquid, more water, and a little more brown, I'm going to use it also as the sweater, like a indigo-y grayish sweater. It would be awesome. Okay, let's get starting on that sweater since we have it mixed up. Let's get just drop in, and we're gonna hint at the cable of the sweater. We're not gonna be doing a lot of crazy stuff. And it looks dark now, but it's going to dry lighter. So let's do the bottom right of the sweater to be a little more shaded, and then some of the areas that will be sort of shadowed in the cuff of the sweater, this awesome chunky sweater, knit sweater. And then just leave some white between. It'll fill in a little bit around there. And then I am doing a lighter wash of that just there on top of the sleeve. And then also a little bit on the left side of the band of the sweater, the bottom band, just because it's in the light. We're having the light come from the left side of the painting. Now I want you guys to mix up a little bit of onto your burnt sienna. I want you to mix a little bit of orange with burnt sienna. So we're really looking at a brownish orange. And guess what, guys? It really doesn't matter because you can choose any. There's so many different varieties of little squirrels and stuff. You can choose any different colors that you want. But I'm choosing a reddish brown, and it's a good color to work with. And I'm also going to have a peach. So I'm going to have my peachish color that we talked about before. And that's going to be the base. I'm just going to lay that in for the whole face. And then I'm doing the right side of the face. I'm going to lay it in for some of the skin. And then I'm going to come back up in there and keep that light, but add a little bit more of a lightish brown. Now, let's get a darker brown at the base of the tail and then drag it up with some water. So it by the time it gets to the top of the fluffy tail, it's a lot lighter. So we're just kind of letting the water spread up a little bit. So I put in raw umber, a darker brown, and I'm gonna drop in a couple of orangey reds in there too, into the tail, and just kind of keep it all in the brown orange family. So let's move that brownish orange, speaking of, and go ahead into the bottom legs. And we're going to go ahead and drop some of this color. I'm doing right now wet on dry. The areas that I'm working on for the squirrel are dry, and I don't have them wet at first, just dry. Then let's get some of these. I'm being so intentional about just making quick swipes and not worrying about massive detail inside the ears. It's all I can do to not put in massive detail, but it's going to be really powerful. Sometimes it's more powerful what's not there. Let's do a little bit of shadowing on the belly, under the sweater, where the cuff of the sweater is, and then leave an area towards the middle of the belly to be lighter where it's catching the light. Like a little round stomach is catching the light as it goes. Okay, we can darken up a little of our tail too. We don't want to do too much while it's still really wet, but I do want to have some of that still be spreading upwards. And this is the chance to put in a little bit of red there too. It's just a little bit off camera, but it's the swirl. I just have a little swirl where the bottom of the tail is. And I just think this is so cute, this design. I have to tell you that as an artist, as a creative, and as an educator, AI is so frightening, but also so powerful with so many cool applications. I generated my reference little squirrel by AI. The prompt I asked was squirrel in a sweater holding an acorn. And because AI created it, I had a really cool reference to sketch from, and I wasn't worried about using someone else's illustrated book or someone else's proprietary work. I kind of had my own thing to look at. Okay, let's add in a little of lighter brown towards the left of the face, and I ended up with a hard shadow there, a hard edge on the face, so I wanted to blend together better, and I'm just blending the areas of the face a little bit. Not too much. I'm going to let it dry and do its thing. Because what's going on down here too right now, I'm lifting color and I don't want to be. So I have to learn to let it go and let it dry first. Okay, I'm mixing up some of my darker purpley shadowy that we're doing for the edges of the sweater, the darkest part of the sweater, and making a little bit darker area just under the neck cuff and at the bottom right edge and inside the cuffs where the hands are, the arms are coming out. Just a little inside the cuffs of the sweater. We really don't need a lot of detail in this, guys. But little details like that, while we have it on our brush, we can throw it in. I'm going to put the arms in. In the hands, I'm having the hands bend a little bit, as if they're gripping the acorn. And then I'm strengthening up my brown
To
for the
be
acorn itself to be a little
just like a
different
darker brown for
from
the
the
cap of
squirrel fur
the
near it, like in the
acorn.
hands and stuff. So
And I'm
just put
making
in like
sort
a
of a yellowy
lightish
brown
yellow.
mix.
Do a little bit of a dark spot on the bottom left. Sorry, bottom right for shadow. And just strengthen up a little of the medium values of the face. So I'm really wanting to keep the top left the lightest. So and the middle area is middle of the face. I want to make I'm pulling out because I already had darkened it too much towards the top left. So you can do that with a paper towel or a Q-tip or something nearby. You can also use a dry brush that you've dried off on your paper towel, and that will pull some color out, some of the pigment as well. We are going to need to add, we're ready because this area over here is dry. It should be kind of dry for us. So make sure we're preserving our lights on the stomach down there. We should need to start adding a little shadowing. So let's do that underneath where this guy is standing on the log and off to the right side. So we'll make the bottom part of the log a little bit darker and more dramatic than the top left of the log. Okay, and you can just throw in a couple of dots of even darker purple here and there just to make a couple of ridges. We don't need a lot of detail, just hint at it. And I'm going to take the brush and put it on its side and do a dry brushing sort of technique where I'm going to leave some of the white of the log showing. I'm just dragging the color across. This is the log in the front. Going to add a little bit of a more peachy, yellowy in there as well, trying to leave some of the white space. And I'm going to drop in a couple just little red accents, just little bits on the log just to make it interesting. And then let's give it a definition between it and the background. So just deepen the line at the top of the log a little bit there. Super cute. It's starting to look super cute though. I really like it. I am going to give it away. I do free art Fridays, and I'm going to give it away to the Austin Wildlife Rescue. I'm going to leave it for someone to find. These people work so hard, and I know that they deal with a lot of squirrels. So I bet they'll be so excited to find it. It's super cute. Okay, you can take a break and let a few areas dry. I think we're good to move on to our leaves because the background's wet, dry enough. So let's get a I got a deeper yellow. You can't see me mixing it, but it's a Hansa yellow dark. And it's if you have other brands of watercolor, it's probably a cad yellow, cad medium. And then I'm just dropping a little bit of like a rusty orange on the left side. And these are just going to be really basic, just hanging out there. We're not going to add a lot of veining. We're not going to do anything. We just want them kind of hanging out there. But don't you see the difference between how the background is kind of a mottled, not model, Mottled, mottled, like blended up. I just really like that. It's almost like a filter. It's almost like a blur photo filter. Beautiful. It's so powerful. Watercolor is unlike any media. You guys know if you've already been trying it, it's amazing. So I'm darkening, I'm making a darker of a brown with my raw umber and burnt sienna. And I'm now, because the base of the tail is dry, I'm just adding a little bit darker in there. And I'm going to darken the legs a bit, and especially where they're just under the sweater and to the back right. And then just a little shadowing at the bottom of the arms and at the bottom right side of our face. And you could just add a couple of fur hairs coming off of that tail. And you guys, it is getting cut off at the right side here. I'm looking as I'm looking on camera. Just have the tail swirl around in a curve, and we have the lightest values at the top of the fur of the tail. You can even, we'll use a white marker, paint marker at the end. You can even put a few strokes of white fur sort of around the tail and into the background, and just have a little dark-ish circle where the tail is curved around itself. And then let's do one more layering of our darkest value of the purpley blue. And we're not going to go in everywhere. We're just going to throw a little in here. Let's throw some here. Let's throw some. This is just for contrast. And it's just a couple of areas. So now that we just threw in 2 lines there, it's giving us the idea that we have that knit sweater cuff. So easy. We don't have to do the whole thing. It's the best. It's so hard for me to do. And I'm so much happier when I'm able to do it. I just want to add, I did three, I'll have to do a different video, but I did three of this exact design, and some of them had the ultimate details of the actual knit. You could see the knit stitches themselves. I mean, it's just that there's time and place for that too, but I really am wanting to be more loose and more expressive. And so thinking about where you're placing your strokes and how many strokes you do. How about let's see if we can challenge. Let's do just 3 strokes and do the entire leg, or just 3 swipes, a light, a medium, dark, and then done. And I just feel like there, like I said, there's power in what's not there. Okay, add a few slightly curving branches. These are like towards the end of the tree, so they're real thin. I don't need a lot of detail. I just have the very point of my brush. I'm using Princeton watercolor brushes, a size 4 for most of this. I did 6 for the background. And I'm using the pointy tip when I need a detail. I'm going to add just a couple of lines here. I'm talking about no details, but I am going to want some claws on there. Just a couple of lines to hint there. Just a couple. How cute is this guy? I just hope that someone who works in the wildlife rehab finds it and is so psyched. And then we have left the fun of the eye. Go ahead and put in, they kind of have almond shaped eyes. And then just a little nose. I'm gonna just put a dot for the eye that's in the on the other side of the face. A tiny area. So fun. And then just look, this here's where we go. Here's where I go, guys. I'm gonna keep going, but I you really can keep it simple, but I'm just brushing over, almost like glazing over a little bit of a burnt orange towards some of the parts of my leaf. And then a little tiny bit of that burnt orange just to add one last bits of shadow because I cannot get enough. I cannot push the brush down, but we could shadow that a little bit more over there. And I'm just putting a little bit of Payne's gray in so that my the eyes and nose were a little bit darker. And just start getting the right side of the acorn cap